Another phenomenal weekend of college football as the second week of the season produced some eye-popping results. The Texas volleyball team battled with inconsistent play, and the 2023 NFL season is finally upon us after a long, restful offseason. All this and more on College Press Box.
Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Chloe Porras, and he's Joseph Duffy. We have a great show for you today.
Absolutely, Chloe. Today's show is brought to you, of course, by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at catmetro.org. Well, Chloe, there was plenty of hype surrounding Week 2 of college football season, including how Colorado could stack upon their impressive Week 1 win against TCU. But there was not a bigger hyped matchup than Part 2 of the Crimson Tide facing the Texas Longhorns. How would Quinn Ewers perform for a full 4 quarters after a premature exit against Alabama just last season? And how would this Alabama squad compete with the new sheriff calling the shots in the huddle with the exit of Bryce Young? Well, the stage was set at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Texas hadn't beaten Alabama since 1982 and was unsuccessful against an AP Top 3 opponent since 2008. First drive here for Bama, Jalen Milroe escapes the pressure for the first down. He has 78 rush yards on the day, but he struggled with the pass at times, as on the same drive, Milroe is picked off right here by senior Jahdae Barron, number 23, and the Longhorns are in excellent field position at Bryant-Denny. Steve Sarkisian, very aggressive all night, would go for 4th and 2 here as Quinn Ewers would find Jatavion Sanders in the flats to move the chains. He goes out of bounds in the same drive on 3rd and goal. Quinn Ewers will look for Xavier Worthy in the end zone. That would be incomplete, and that would force the Longhorns to bring out Bert Arbin to knock a 3-0 field goal down. Early lead in the first quarter. Now here's Milroe in Texas territory trying to dump it off to his running back, Roydell Williams, but the pass would be incomplete, and that would end the quarter. Texas still leading 3-0. That would send out Will Riker, the money kicker for Alabama, ties the game from 42, top of the second quarter. Now Texas's following drive. This would be a massive storyline in the night as the Horns get tricky. Pass interference would be called here as Terrion Arnold gets a little snag of the jersey of A.D. Mitchell. Big grab right there. Alabama had 10 penalties for 90 yards on the day, something they struggled last year against Texas. Ewers would fire a missile downfield to Xavier Worthy. That would be a touchdown, 44 yards. Horns take the lead in Tuscaloosa. Had to feel good for Ewers, who's been struggling with the deep ball for a while. How can Alabama respond now? 3rd down for the Tide. Horns send 6, but David Benda would get home to sack Jalen Milroe. Horns would have 5 sacks on the day. End of the second half now. Ewers can't find a man. He's going to have to take off, but he will be tackled just for a 3-yard gain, though. Texas would have to settle for a 4th down field goal. Bert Auburn from 29 yards, right down and true. 13-3, 10-point lead now. Alabama, Jalen Milroe still trying to escape, but he'd be sacked right there by Ethan Burke, who had a solid day just before the half. Milroe once again before the end of the half, 3rd and 7, going to try to escape like he did a lot of times Saturday. Getting chased, getting pressured, going to heave it to the end zone, tipped off the senior Jalen Ford's hands, but it would get caught. But there is a flag. It's going to get brought back because of a legal man downfield, and that will negate the touchdown. So Will Riker will come right back before the half with 5 seconds remaining, knock down the field goal. It will be a 7-point game to end the first half. Texas leads 13-6. Now Milroe with a 3rd and long. He's going to be taken down by young Anthony Hill from Billy Ryan High School in Denton, Texas. You're going to hear that name a lot again in the future. Will Riker once again from 4th and 8, 51 yards. Field goal is good. 13-9 game. Texas still leads. Now Milroe once again trying to escape. He's going to heave it downfield. That's his man Jermaine Burton. They're not going to pick that one up. That is a touchdown. Alabama takes the lead midway through the 3rd quarter. Now Ewers is going to look in the pocket once more. He's going to heave it down to his tight end again, Jatavion Sanders, who had a great day, 100 yards, receiving 5 catches, keeps evading tackles. Can he get to the end zone? He's just going to be just short. But in the next play, can the Longhorns cash in? Ewers once again in the pocket, play action pass. He fakes it. The slant caught by the Georgia transfer, A.D. Mitchell, puts the Longhorns in front 20-16. Now Milroe, can he respond? Once more, play action pass. He's going to heave it downfield, intercepted. Once again, the second turnover of the night for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Once again, puts the Texas Longhorns in the red zone. Good field position. Can the Longhorns go up 2 scores? Ewers is going to hand off to Jonathan Brooks up the middle. He's going to plunge into the end zone. Longhorns take the lead and extend their lead, actually. But would Alabama give up in their own stadium in Tuscaloosa? Milroe fumbles the snap a little bit, recovers, going to go downfield. That's Amari Nyblack. Poor tackling right here in the driver here for the Longhorns, and that would be an easy score. Once more for Nyblack. Alabama cuts the lead. Can the Texas Longhorns add more to their late lead? One more time, Ewers going to fire a missile. That again to A.D. Mitchell. Lead is back to 2 scores in the fourth quarter. Texas was actually maintaining control of this game. Very rare in Tuscaloosa. Milroe, what can the Tide do still? Young Anthony Hill, once more, another sack, takes down Milroe, and he says, "We are here." Once again, Ewers going to hand off one more time to Jonathan Brooks for about a 15-yard gain, and that will very well do it. The Longhorns win 34-24 in Tuscaloosa. Quinn Ewers with 3 passing touchdowns, and the Crimson Tide dropped to 10 in the poll, while the Texas Longhorns raise to 4.
Joining us now to chat about the Longhorns' big win over Alabama is our college football analyst, Janelle Tanguma. Welcome to the show, Janelle.
Pleasure to be here.
So, after that huge win on Saturday, what do you think really contributed to the Longhorns taking down Alabama?
I think it was the success in the offense that played a huge role in their upset win against Alabama, especially with big plays that sealed the game for Texas. We saw Quinn Ewers throw some deep passes to his receivers. This is something we've been waiting to see from him for a while, and I think his ability to make those big plays will show what kind of damage he can do this season. Starting with a 44-yard pass to Xavier Worthy right in the end zone for the first touchdown of the night, this was a perfect throw-catch combination by the exciting duo. Now, Sarkisian wasn't afraid to throw in a trick play with a pass to Xavier Worthy, who would launch a deep throw of his own. The play ended up getting a flag for pass interference, but it showed that these coaches were going to pull out all the stops. More threats on the Texas offense included junior wide receiver Adonai Mitchell with a great catch in the third quarter, fighting a one-on-one pressure from Alabama's defense. And then again, this time with the 39-yard catch for a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Jatavion Sanders had a great game, racking up 114 receiving yards, and Jonathan Brooks had some great moments throughout the game, despite an overall struggle to run the ball. I think Steve Sarkisian did an amazing job reading the defense all night and making plays to win the game, making him just the 3rd former assistant coach of Nick Saban to go on and beat Nick Saban. Ewers finished the game racking up 349 yards and 3 touchdown passes.
I 100% agree with you. Sarkisian's read of the defense was incredible to see. How do you think that Texas's defense performed against Alabama's new QB, Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, defensively, Texas put a lot of pressure on Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. They broke Alabama's offensive line multiple times, forcing tackles for loss and ending the night with 5 sacks to the sophomore QB. True freshman Anthony Hill Jr. was a big defensive playmaker for Texas with 2 sacks and some tackles in the backfield. Ethan Burke was also able to put pressure on the offense. The sophomore had 1 sack during the game. These big stops really held off Alabama from scoring, especially after the defense gave up some deep passes from Milroe throughout the game. Interceptions from the defense helped put the ball in the hands of the Texas offense. Jahdae Barron, with the interception in the first quarter, really set the tone for the game, but Jaron Thompson's pick in the fourth quarter is what built up the lead, and I think it showed the inexperience of this young Alabama quarterback, which is what Nick Saban was worried about going into this game.
I totally agree with you, Janelle. This isn't the type of Alabama team that we're really used to seeing quite often, so what do you think contributed to them not showing up against Texas in their home turf?
I think they showed up, they just couldn't follow through on their offense. Despite pressure in the pocket, Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe was able to make some big plays for their offense. I think him and Quinn Ewers both put on a show with their deep throws and accuracy, but Milroe also had success in running the ball. He was able to get the first down multiple times off the run. In the second quarter, Milroe split the defense and sprinted for a gain of 20 yards. And then a deep throw connection late in the third quarter between Milroe and receiver Jermaine Burton for 49 yards would give them their first touchdown and lead of the night. With the 39-yard pass to Amari Niblack, despite dropping the ball on the snap, he kept composure, he saw the opening, and Niblack maneuvered through the Texas defense into the end zone. They just didn't have the ability to turn those big plays into points on the scoreboard, and I think part of that is because of the penalties that piled up for them. Alabama had 2 touchdowns taken away due to penalties from the offense, and it's hard to say how this game would have gone if they didn't get those calls. They ended the night with 10 penalties, the last one ending any chance of a comeback and clinching the win for Texas. Now, there's still a lot of football left to play, so hopefully Texas can use this momentum as they head into the rest of their season.
Well, it's always great to hear from you, Janelle. When we come back to College Press Box, Emma Welty will serve up her takes on this year's Texas volleyball team.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Now joining us is our volleyball analyst making her TSTV sports debut, Emma Welty. Thank you for joining us, Emma.
Well, thanks for having me tonight.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about Texas volleyball, of course, coming off of last week's 0-3 loss to Stanford, straight into a 3-0 sweep against Florida Gulf Coast. What's this matchup looking like against Rice?
Well, basing it off the records alone, Texas is behind in wins this week. Rice is coming in with 4-3. 4-3 record with only one game being played off their home court. I think we're really going to have the advantage tonight, taking Rice out of their comfort zone and using our gym to our advantage. I mean, we both were swept by Stanford last week and returned the favor to Florida Gulf Coast 3-0. So in terms of momentum, we're pretty equal. What's going to make or break this game is finishing out each set, because that's what Rice struggled with playing against Stanford last week. If we play how we should, Texas should add another win to the record tonight.
Absolutely. Inconsistent play has been the story of the Longhorns thus far. So basing off of last year's championship run, how is it looking for Texas to come back with another national title this season?
I mean, last season was just incredible. The streaks they would go on winning was just fabulous. But coming back into this season, we've lost a lot of key players like Logan and Zoe. But one thing I'm very excited about is the chemistry we've already seen on the court. The returners like Asia and Madison have already been seen jiving with the newcomers. One thing that's really definitely stuck out to me is the relatively low ranking Texas has this preseason. Coming in, they're sitting at number 6, with Wisconsin and Louisville taking the top 2 spots. I'm definitely interested to see how this week changes these rankings.
Of course, Texas beat Louisville in the championship last season. Texas lost a lot of veteran leadership, as you said. So finally, fast forward into the week, Texas hosts Ohio State at home, then immediately faces Washington State on Friday. What are these matchups looking like in your opinion?
Well, Texas sees number 19 Ohio State this Thursday at home. They boast a losing record so far. They're currently 3-4 this preseason, and that game posed no immediate threat out of the gate. But Texas will need to take care of business, no more inconsistent play. Washington State comes the very next day, this Friday, which seems to be a more competitive game. Washington is currently ranked 19 with an 8-1 record. This winning momentum will no doubt carry them into an interesting match with Texas. Their offense on Texas end will have to produce because Washington has some powerful hitters on the lineup. No doubt this will be a game you want to tune into, and from what I can tell, Texas should walk away happy this week.
All right, thank you, Emma, for that coverage in volleyball. When we return on College Press Box, the NFL season has finally arrived with some stunning upsets and a few laughers. Tyler Moss joins the show, so don't go anywhere on College Press Box.
Welcome back to College Press Box. The 2023 NFL season debuted last Thursday at Arrowhead Stadium with the reigning Super Bowl champions chopping it up against the Detroit Lions. While this past weekend provided the first Sunday slate, our very own Tyler Moss joins to fill us in on what was an amazing week in national football. Tyler?
Thanks, Chloe. Anyways, always happy to be here on the press box to talk about football. We're going to recap this week's games and get to some burning questions and storylines to look out for the season. So let's get into it. The 2023 NFL season kicked off Thursday night as the Lions traveled to take on the Chiefs in Kansas City, and the Lions would end up winning that night 21-20, Jared Goff and company spoiling the Chiefs' banner ceremony. Sunday had a full slate of games, and we'll start off taking a look at the Panthers and the Falcons, where Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson accounted for the Falcons' offense, propelling them to a 24-10 victory. The Bengals and the Browns clashed in the Battle of Ohio, and it was a pretty sloppy game for both teams. Joe Burrow had a very uninspiring game for the now most paid player in the NFL, and the team had maybe the worst offensive performance of the day, but we'll come back to that later, and the Browns won this one 24-3. The Jaguars and the Colts faced off in Indianapolis, and Trevor Lawrence led his Jags to a 31-21 victory, but Anthony Richardson and the Colts didn't look so bad either, so keep an eye on them in that AFC South. The Brady-less Buccaneers went to Minneapolis to face off against the Vikings and would win 20-17 on this 57-yard field goal. The Titans and the Saints also was a pretty sloppy game. Tannehill threw 3 picks, but the Saints would win 16-15 in Derek Carr's debut in New Orleans. The 49ers went into Pittsburgh, and when the Steelers had a total of -4 yards after their first 4 drives, there's not much else to say. The Niners would win this one 30-7 with plays like this from Christian McCaffrey. This is what you can expect from this Niners team all year. The Commanders, looking to renew themselves under new ownership, almost blew it against the Cardinals at home, but pulled it off in the fourth to win 20-16. The Texans traveled to Baltimore and hoped that the second and third overall picks, C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, could help them right the ship, but the Ravens would end up taking the victory 25-9. The Packers and the Bears faced off in Chicago, and unfortunately for the Bears, the Packers said, "No Rodgers? No problem," as Jordan Love led his squad to a 38-20 win. And I'm sorry, Jason in the back, we are going to sit here and watch this whole Quay Walker interception return for a touchdown that would put the exclamation point on this game. The Raiders went and spoiled Sean Payton's debut with the Broncos. Jimmy G and Jacoby Myers had 2 touchdowns together. They're going to take that victory 17-16 over the Broncos. The Eagles, looking to continue their momentum from last year, they started out hot but cooled off in the rain against the Patriots, managing to hold on to this win late with the 25-20 score. This is one of those plays that got them started early, a big interception return from Darius Slay. As I mentioned, that rain played a factor throughout that game. The Chargers and the Dolphins had the most electric game of the day with a back-and-forth game full of offense, but it was Tua and Tyreek connecting for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. They would make their team win 36-34. The Rams and the Seahawks played in Seattle, and rookie Puka Nacua shone in the absence of Cooper Kupp, and the Rams shut out the Seahawks in the second half. They would take that victory 30-13. And finally, after waiting all day for Sunday night, the Cowboys and the Giants threw down. But really, one of these teams got thrown, and one of them threw the other down. The Cowboys defense absolutely demolished the Giants team. They had a lot of expectations over the offseason. The Cowboys won by a whopping score of 40-0. Now, for some of those storylines and overreactions following Week 1. To start, are we seeing a return to glory for both the Cowboys and the Niners? I wasn't alive to see this time period, but it feels like I'm seeing it now. We've seen these teams face off in the playoffs for the last 2 years. Both of those games coming down to the wire. It'll be interesting to see how well those 2 teams play out for the rest of the season. Secondly, are we seeing the decline of the Chiefs? Obviously, without Travis Kelce, their receiving corps looked abysmal. Nothing like the Chiefs would come to expect when Mahomes is on the field. And finally, are the Dolphins ready to make a run in the AFC? We saw a number of AFC teams look weak in their season openers, but Tua threw for 466 yards. And the best part? He wasn't sacked once. We know this team has struggled with protecting him in the past, but could that be different this year? Only time will tell. That'll do it for me here in Press Box.
Thank you so much for being here, Tyler. When we return, we recap the last week in Texas sports. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back into College Press Box. Let's take a look at some of the headlines regarding Longhorn athletes. This past Sunday, number 17 Texas Soccer tied against number 23 Gonzaga in a 0-0 defensive matchup. Texas's record, now 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, will favor them as the Longhorns will hit the road to face the Baylor Bears, kicking off Big 12 Conference action this Thursday.
Number 11, Texas men's golf finished this past Sunday with a final round score of 16 over par to tie Texas Tech for 6th place at the season-opening Sahali Players Championship. Sophomore Jacob Sosa led the Longhorns with a 3-round score of 218, only 2 over par to tie for 7th in the individual standings. The men's team returns to the course on September 15th to 17th in Chicago.
Now, number 4, Texas football tabbed Cheez-It National Team of the Week after a thrilling victory in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. It was named the Cheez-It National Team of the Week by the Football Writers Association of America. The stunning road upset by Sarkeesian's Texas was its first AP Top 3 win since 2008 and snapped Alabama's 21-game home winning streak. Texas will return to DKR Texas Memorial Stadium to face the Wyoming Cowboys this Saturday.
Now let's take a look at this week ahead in Longhorn sports. Texas women's golf will be competing at the Annika Intercollegiate on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Thursday, September 14th, Texas volleyball takes on Ohio State at 7 p.m. on Longhorn Network, and Texas soccer plays Baylor in Waco. Volleyball returns on Friday, September 15th versus Washington State at 7 p.m. also on Longhorn Network, and Texas football is playing at home this Saturday, September 16th, to finally play against Wyoming with a 7 p.m. kickoff on Longhorn Network. Good luck to all of our Longhorns this week.
Well, that'll wrap things up for this week's episode of College Press Box. Make sure to tune into our other shows this week, including College Crossfire on Wednesday and 1-0 Sports on Friday. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer, Jason Conander, and everyone else here at TSTV. I'm Joseph Duffey. She's Chloe Porras. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.